Classic wooden roller coasters are often fan favorites amongst the general public. 9 out of 10 times they give great ride experiences if they're preserved well. In this video, I'll be picking 15 coasters that fit the bill and we'll stack them up against each other. But first, what defines a classic wooden coaster? While there isn't a clear-cut definition, I had to draw the line somewhere, so anything built before 1990 is fine by me. I do understand that there were rides constructed even later than that, so one consider classic, but again, I had to find a limit, so that's what I came up with. Now that we have that clear, I'd like to advise you all to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video. You could always change your mind later, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. With that being said, I hope you'll enjoy the list. These are the top 15 classic wooden coasters I've been on. Number 15, Judge Roy's Scream at Six Flags Over Texas. Our first coaster on the list is a bipolar but rarely discussed attraction from 1980. Not many people seem to talk about Judge Roy's Scream, but I hear conflicting opinions from either side. Some say it's rough and boring, while others like me would say it's smooth and has a couple of good airtime moments. Plus, I really like the setting up against the lake. I think that only adds to the secluded nature of the attraction. Now, I only got one back row ride on this coaster, so I'm curious to see if it rides the same next time I try it out. However, from my single experience, I thought this was a sleeper hit at Six Flags Over Texas. Number 14, Wild Beast at Canada's Wonderland. I'm sure this will be the most unpopular opinion on the list, but I thought Wild Beast was a perfectly fine coaster. I rode it in 2019 and liked it enough to get 5 rides, and each of those rides were a lot of fun. I don't know if I just got lucky or if things had changed, but the thing gets flack for being rough when I didn't think it was rough at all. Of course, I never took a chance with a wheel seat, and I think that could have been why I liked it so much. There's a very similar coaster at King's Dominion that goes by the same name, and I've never liked that ride. I've always found that coaster to be far too rough, so maybe all it takes is a couple of re-rides and this thing will be knocked off the list. Number 13, Mighty Canadian Mindbuster at Canada's Wonderland. A ride in the same park as Wild Beast and built in the same year, matter of fact, is a bit of a different ride experience. This one does ride similar and has a similar overall feel to that coaster, but it has an out and back layout going through the Splashworks water park. It's a pretty cool dynamic actually, amplified only by the semi-aggressive ride experience. Mindbuster is another ride that gets torn apart by coaster enthusiasts, but I've never understood why. Again, next time I'm at Canada's Wonderland, I'll have to see what all the fuss is about for another time. Number 12, Dragon Coaster at Rye Playland. One of 3 Frederick Church wooden coasters in operation can be found at a tiny family-owned park in a town called Rye. I hit this park for the first time on the way to the JFK airport from Connecticut, and Dragon was by far what I was most looking forward to. I've always been somewhat intrigued by this coaster since literally no coaster enthusiasts talk about it, and because it's extremely long and old. With a date of 1929, it's one of the oldest coasters I've ever been on. So my summary of the ride was that it was a mix of the other 2 Frederick Church coasters being Giant Dipper at Belmont Park and Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. In other words, it was a comfortably smooth ride that tracked pretty good, but it was kind of boring. There wasn't really any airtime and not much laterals either. But of course, even when a ride is dull, as long as it's smooth, it really can't be considered bad. Therefore, Dragon was an enjoyable ride for what it's worth, but not one I'll be dying to get back on. Number 11, Roller Coaster at Lagoon. Built in 1921, this century-year-old wooden coaster has received tons of upgrades and track work in recent years to improve the ride experience. One of the things they did was add GCI's Millennium Flyer trains along with add steel plating to the track and supports. While I didn't ride the prior iteration of Roller Coaster, I thought it rode very well for its age. It's still not as smooth as some of the other rides on this list, but it made up for that in giving these weirdly abrupt airtime moments declining most of its hills. Thus, I always think I'll recommend that you experience this coaster in the back rows, because it's such a bizarre sensation that not many rides offer. So for what it's worth, this was a really fun ride and probably one of the top 5, maybe even top 3 roller coasters at Lagoon. Number 10, Comet at Hershey Park. This placement is the evaluation of 2 completely separate ride experiences I had on this thing. Originally, I rode Comet in April 2018 and got plenty of airtime on it. Then I got a reride in 2020 and I thought it was just okay. I still appreciate the layout and such, don't get me wrong, but I guess I was expecting more because I remembered it being so much better last time. I did get back to Hershey Park for a 3rd time this year, but we didn't really think to give Comet another shot. Maybe that was a bad idea, maybe I could have finally cracked the case of finding an accurate opinion on this ride. But for the time being, I think 10 is a fair assessment considering my 2018 and 2020 rides evenly. Number 9, Wild One at Six Flags America. One of the park's best roller coasters has also been through so much in its lifetime. This thing opened originally in 1917 at Paragon Park in Massachusetts. Then it made its way over to Six Flags America, then known as Wild World, in 1986 due to fires and financial troubles. Since then, Wild One has been going strong and offers a fantastic ride experience. I think it's commendable that this park has maintained this ride so well after all it's been through. I mean, that goes for a lot of the parks on this list, but especially this one. It's such an old ride that's been damaged by natural disaster, poor maintenance, relocation, but still it's stuck around as Maryland's most iconic roller coaster to date. Number 8, Blue Streak at Cedar Point. This is a ride that I've always loved so much. I only rode it in 2019 but got a couple of rides on it and thought it was so much fun. The rapid airtime hills back to back are exceptional in the first half and still perfectly comfortable in the second half. You know, Blue Streak isn't the longest ride on this list by any means, but it's amazing how much it packs in. To this day, it remains Cedar Point's oldest operating roller coaster and hopefully it stays that way for decades to come. Number 7, Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Timberwolf is the least old coaster on this list. The ride opened in 1989, meaning it barely met the criteria I was looking for, but I'm glad it did because it too often goes unnoticed. This ride might even be good enough to crack the top 2 at this park. It's got so many good airtime moments, so many good lateral moments, and it rides in between smooth and rough. I don't know how the Ridden Corporation built something so successful, but Timberwolf is a great ride. Number 6, Thunderbolt at Kennywood. One of the most beloved classic wooden coasters on this list is known for its brilliant layout. The ride opened such a long time ago in 1924, but with such a creative course. So many terrain-driven hills, a whole spaghetti bowl section with strong laterals, and a couple moments of airtime. It's just really a good ride and arguably the best of the 3 classics at Kennywood, though I did decide to put one coaster ahead of it on this list. Number 5, Jackrabbit at Kennywood. Sure, this thing may not have the laterals of Thunderbolt, and it may not be as creative of a layout, but it sure does have the airtime. Its iconic double down is one of the most incredible airtime moments I've experienced on any coaster. Due to the ride's limited restraint system, you go flying on this element. As for the rest of the layout, it doesn't do too much, but it's remarkably smooth for its age. Jackrabbit opened in 1920, making it the oldest continuously operating roller coaster I've been on, yet it's smoother than most of its modern cousins. This is absolutely one of my favorite attractions at Kennywood. Don't miss this one. Number 4, Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Over Georgia. I can't even tell you why this ride gets a placement so high, because it is a terrible coaster. Literally, it's so rough, its brakes are so harsh, and its condition is atrocious. Yet somehow, the airtime it gives is hilariously great. It's crazy how much of it over and over again there is, and to be honest, the ride's roughness makes it even funnier. It's one of the most bizarre rides I've ever ridden, and once again, I can't explain why I like it so much. I know there's a lot of people who think the same way I do though, so I think my top recommendation for this ride would just be do it for yourself and find out. Number 3, Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Ironically, the Giant Dipper in San Diego might have barely made the top 20 or 25, whereas this one is in the top 3. I don't know what it is that they did right here or what they did wrong there, but the same design team made an opposite in ride quality. This coaster is relentless, with non-stop airtime moments defined by the entrance and exit of each hill, and plenty of intense laterals as well. More so than most modern wooden coasters, I would use the words airtime buffet to describe Giant Dipper. This is absolutely an amazing ride for its age, and it's located alongside the beach, so it's beautiful too. Number 2, Coney Island Cyclone at Luna Park. I've barely gotten the chance to talk about this ride on the channel, so let me briefly sum up the experience now. This ride is perfect in so many ways. Not only is it a legend and an icon, but I was shocked by how it rode. So much airtime, so many laterals, so much smoothness, and incredible trains, plus it gets the edge over Giant Dipper for its extremely long ride time. I just could not believe how great this ride was. Like I'm telling you, I wasn't expecting it by any means. No matter what you have to do to get to this park, do it, because this coaster is a masterpiece for its time. Number 1, Phoenix at Knoebels. The only coaster on this list to crack my overall top 30 list is way too good to put into words. It's won so many Golden Ticket Awards in recent years because its airtime was almost a dream come true. The ride is basically cheating to obtain the top spot since it's only this good for having practically no restraint. The layout is good to begin with, don't get me wrong, but you go flying after every single hill on this ride. Because of this, Phoenix has a reputation as one of the best wooden roller coasters out there, and it's understandable as to why. It's a classic wooden coaster that can actually hold up to modern wooden coasters, more so than any other ride in the world. In other words, Phoenix isn't just good for its age, it's good period. This is really just an exceptional ride. So there we have it, my top 15 classic wooden roller coasters I've been on. You know, I actually had a really fun time making this video. I think highlighting coasters like these are too often overshadowed and can be really fun. I appreciate all 15 rides on here for their incredible maintenance, but also their layouts and ride experience. Just because that we're now in the 21st century doesn't mean that there aren't some great old school woodies left behind. I highly encourage you all to get out to any of the parks on this list and give them a ride because they will not be around forever. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.